voluntary statements, of course, are admissible, compelled or not. The case involved, Garrity itself involved an administrative investigation, which was paralleled by a criminal investigation. So you had an employer talking to their employee about events that were also of interest to a criminal prosecutor. The employer, by right, compelled a statement from the employee, and that information leaked over into the criminal investigation, allowing the criminal investigators to develop other evidence, which was then offered in as evidence in the criminal case by the prosecutor. So the fruits of the compelled statement were offered, and the court said, as a matter of the Fifth Amendment criminal procedure, that can't happen. So Garrity requires then, if an employer is going to take a compelled statement from an employee, it needs to be firewalled off, which is how most jurisdictions deal with it. Firewalled off from the criminal investigation. The criminal defendant is entitled to challenge any evidence submitted against them for taint from the administrative investigation. If they can establish that, in fact, there's been leakage from one to the other, the information that resulted, the evidence that resulted, is not available in the prosecution. So it's a rule of criminal law.
In Oregon?
Yes.
In Oregon?
Oregon, it's a principle that applies all across the country. It flows from the United States Constitution.
David, that was a wonderful short tutorial on that piece. So could you tell us how it relates to the 48-hour rule?
It's not directly related. It's related in this sense. If you take a compelled statement early, you have to be in anticipation of that rare case where there is a viable criminal prosecution out of the same event. You have to be very good. You have to be perfect in sealing the information from the compelled statement off from the criminal investigation. It requires the firewall, and that's an administrative, it's very difficult to do. Agencies that take statements earlier end up, for instance, in Phoenix, we looked at them. They house their administrative investigation people in completely separate facilities. They have to isolate them completely.
Is it, in your view, more likely that you can set up that firewall if you have 48 hours to set it up? Is that part of the thinking? Is that the logic?
Currently, we're taking these compelled statements,
right,
and as Commerce said,
is there any relationship between the firewall that you have to have, for reasons that you've explained clearly, and the 48-hour delay?
No, except that in the hubbub immediately after the event, it's harder to say you're out at a scene and you've got administrative investigators walking around with criminal investigators and people reverse flying and all the rest of that. It's a tough setting in which to establish and maintain the firewall. In our setting, so later on, we're having these interviews in a Commerce setting. You can, as an institution, you can maintain the firewall more easily. There's less chance of error.